What's good, YouTube? Hope you're having a great week so far. I got a really interesting review. It's on one of the newest AMOUAGE fragrances to come out, and this is King Blue. Seems to be a little bit of a rift between people loving it and absolutely hating this fragrance, which means I'll probably love it. I've heard some comparisons to Silver Oud, mainly with the base notes and the way it's structured, but a lot more fruity and juicy and citrusy up top, which is why a lot of people, they may love it or they may hate it. It's very similar with Silver Oud. You have some people like myself that think it's maybe one of the best fragrances AMOUAGE has made to date, and you have other people that wouldn't, wear it if you paid them money. So I just ordered King Blue. It came in. True first impressions of the fragrances. Long story short, I ordered the Jubilation 40 extract, extrait from AMOUAGE direct probably about 6 months ago, somewhere around that time frame. And they were supposed to send me a sample of King Blue. It never arrived. In fact, the packaging from AMOUAGE was absolutely horrendous. There's not really much of a reason to buy direct from them if that's how they're going to package their materials. And I've heard a lot of people have the same problem as well. And when you buy direct from a company like Argos or Bond 9, and the way they pack it, ship it, and the way they care for the product, the attention to detail, and I just didn't get that with AMOUAGE. So I ordered this off Joma Shop for about $2.90, I think, somewhere around there with a discount. And it's very interesting with AMOUAGE. You have a couple people that really seem to enjoy some of the heavier fragrances from AMOUAGE, which is part of the reason why I got into the house in the first place. If you don't like those types of heavy Middle Eastern fragrances, I don't know exactly why you would be getting much into the house of AMOUAGE, because that's really a base for most of their fragrances, is that really heavy oud, frankincense, opoponax, myrrh, those types of style. So for it's that exact reason that I love and was drawn to AMOUAGE, because it was so unique and so different from anything else that was out there. It's definitely something that nobody else could really replicate. So we'll get you some some true first impressions on this fragrance here coming up. And it's kind of funny, AMOUAGE didn't send me the sample, and they never really got back to me about it. So yeah, I really showed them by buying the whole bottle of the fragrance. But I bought it from Joma Shop, and it was something that I was considering anyway, especially since I heard the comparisons to Silver Oud. In fact, when you look at the ingredients on this, it actually has oud silver or silver oud along with patchouli and leather in the base. So go ahead and do one little spray on the back of the hand here. That's how you know it's new too. It's a good reason. If you guys are ever concerned, if you have had a bottle that maybe has been previously used, it should never really spray the first time. There should be some air in there. So there we go. Small spray on the back of the hand. Now this is done at 35% oil concentration. So hats off to AMOUAGE for that, because I love that about a lot of their fragrances. Even Overture is done at like 31%. Beach Hut is done at 30%. Jubilation 25 is done, of course, at 25%. So oil concentration on their fragrances is very good. Now, let this dry down a little bit. Man, I can't see why people don't like this. It's not near as animalic or fecal-like as people were making it out to be, in my opinion. Maybe that's just me because I like those types of fragrances. I feel like Silver Oud is a little bit more funky than this one. This has a really nice, slightly spicy, juicy, peppery, citrus type, which makes sense because I believe it's got pink pepper, blackberry or blackcurrant, and mandarin in there. So the citrus, pepper kind of thing. And man, again, my favorite part about Silver Oud is probably going to be my favorite about King Blue. Just that oud note. The oud note is absolutely tremendous in here, and it's very heavy. So if you don't like ouds that are slightly earthy, funky, animalic, this may not be for you. But compared to how it's blended, when you're comparing this directly to Silver Oud, I really don't find it to be as off-putting or as strong. The leather may be having a little bit to do with that. I don't think there's any leather in Silver Oud, so the leather here gives it that sweet, slightly clean type of animalic note, not dirty or anything like that. not quite like a new car leather or something like that. So if you're familiar with how I described like Baccio Immortale from Argos, where it has that really clean leather note, like you were just walking to like a Versace or Gucci store, or you just purchased like a brand new high-end car with like real leather interior. It's not quite that smell, but it does lean that direction. Man, I really enjoy this fragrance, and I can tell you that, only after one spray on the back of my hand, not even having it, develop yet. I can already tell that the development and the longevity is going to be very good at 35% oil concentration. We can have a quick discussion real quick. There's a lot of people that really start to hate AMOUAGE now, especially since Christopher Chong left. I think his parting piece was Overture Man around 2019 or early 2020. And then he moved on to a company in London. I know the name of it, but it's just slipping my mind right now, so I'll try to leave it in the description. But the company that Christopher Chong moved on to is doing some very good things right now. But to say that AMOUAGE has gone downhill since he left, for me, absolutely not. I mean, some of the best fragrances and some of my favorite fragrances that AMOUAGE has created have come since Christopher Chong left. You look at Silver Oud, Royal Tobacco, they did Jubilation 40. But one thing is a little bit annoying, and I know it bothers other people, and maybe this is where some of the hatred comes from a little bit. Stop discontinuing Christopher Chong's older work, for the love of God, please. I know you may want to make room in your portfolio for some of the newer fragrances that you've created, but I think a lot of people would agree on me with this. If you don't want to make as much Bracken Man and Sunshine Man and Fate Man and some of the older fragrances that you've discontinued, that's fine, but don't discontinue them and just stop making them. Just make less of them. And if you run out of stock, maybe a new batch comes out 6 months to a year later and people will have to wait for it. But don't just flat out discontinue it, because what happens is people who really like those fragrances, who want to continue to purchase them, have to pay sometimes double or triple the money of what they were buying them before, because they're no longer made. People in the fragrance community and secondary sellers know that. So they just charge out, what for these types of fragrances when they're not really worth that much. They're just kind of hitting on that rarity factor and the sentimental value of people looking for those fragrances. So, I don't think AMOUAGE as a whole has gone downhill since Christopher Chong has left, because they've made some excellent fragrances since then. And in my opinion, King Blue, one of the newer ones, is absolutely one of those. I mean, for me, it's absolutely fantastic. I love this fragrance, and it's only been like 5-10 minutes. But the real thing is, just stop discontinuing the stuff like, Bracken Man, Sunshine Man, Fate Man. Just make less of it, smaller batches, whatever you have to do, and if it's out of stock for a little while. But I think that really is what hit a nerve with a lot of people, is the fact that almost like they're trying to erase some of Christopher Chong's work and just keeping the stuff that sells the best. If you're really into it for the perfumery and the love of perfumery and not just the money, then I feel like you would keep some of that stuff around or bring it back. Who knows, maybe they'll listen to this video and, from my mouth to their ears or God's ears, they'll bring them back, and maybe they'll do like an extrait version, like a concentrated version of, Fate Man, Bracken, and Sunshine. And they were all very good fragrances, but hindsight is exactly what it is. I had the chance to buy Bracken Man. I had 3 samples of it. I liked it, but not enough to buy a bottle. And then, of course, when I found out it was discontinued, I was like, maybe I should have bought a bottle of that. And Sunshine Man was somewhat similar. Fate Man I bought before it was discontinued, but now you don't see it on their website. Wasn't the most popular fragrances, but I personally really enjoyed it. So that's just really kind of how it goes in the fragrance community. Bond Number 9's done that as well. There's some really good old fragrances from Bond Number 9 that they brought back, like Riverside Drive in New Harlem. And there's some other really, really good ones that me and quite a few other people enjoyed, like Central Park, New York Oud, Fire Island, Gramercy Park, Hot Always. There's plenty of more on that list, but they just don't seem to be interested in bringing them back. Maybe there's plans for it. So sorry for the little bit of a rant, but I think that is a little bit deserved, because some people, they really seem to hate AMOUAGE now. And I don't think it's really so much that the company as a whole has gone downhill. I really think it just kind of struck a nerve with people that grew up with AMOUAGE and were old school collectors of AMOUAGE. They're kind of, deleting Christopher Chong's work. And then you get worried as a consumer, where does that end? Does that end? Are they eventually going to get rid of Overture Man? Are they, that's the fear that kind of builds up with people wondering what direction that this is really going. So I think it's really just the fear of uncertainty, and where does that really stop? So guys, appreciate you watching. Very interesting first take on King Blue. I personally love it. I can see why it may be a little bit too much for people in terms of the oud and stuff, but I forget which user told me this, but they said it's a more wearable version of silver oud, and I would have to agree with that. You know, with the citrus and the fruit notes at the top, the pink pepper, it not being quite as like animalic or earthy and funky as silver oud, but it still leans that direction. It's just not as much so. Yeah, for me, definitely more wearable than silver oud, even for summertime and stuff like that. But both very similar vibe to the dry down and the type of oud structure, to the base notes. Of course, the leather kind of sweetens and lightens it up a little bit for King Blue. But yeah, guys, I absolutely love this fragrance. Can't wait to see you guys soon. Got a lot of stuff coming for the channel. I bought more fragrances in the last couple months that I could even review because I've been so busy, but of course I've been making money, so I've been able to buy fragrances for the channel. Just haven't had time to film all the videos. So look forward to doing that. Can't wait to see you guys soon. Thank you for liking and subscribing, and I'll hopefully get some more videos posted by this weekend, all right? Bye.